Alright, good morning boys. At this point, dapat naaral nyo na yung pre-lecture materials on inequalities. Now, number one, credits to Mr. Edwin Ortiz of the Math Department para sa PowerPoint na ito. So, uh, let's dive deeper into the world of inequalities. Katapos lang natin sa equations in the previous module, and much of the skill that we learned there can be applied, to some degree similarly in inequalities also. Okay? So, for this task, kailangan natin for our assignment is to do FA 8A, okay? Submit today, 6 p.m. and FA 8B by 8 a.m. before 8 a.m. of our next synchronous session. Okay? Download nyo na rin yung part 2, PowerPoint 2 pre-lecture on properties of inequality. These are all uploaded on your Google Classroom. Okay? Right. Now, review tayo. No? Base doon sa inaaral ninyo na PowerPoint. Let's translate the following into mathematical symbols. Number 1. Again, try to pause first the video when you see a question, answer by yourself, and then hit play when you have an answer. Tulad dito, the amount of money Brian has is less than 500. Pause muna, then write your answer. Okay, nung pinlay mo, dapat ang sagot mo dito, the amount of money Brian has is less than, if the amount of money, let's say we call it M, that Brian has, is represented by that variable, then we say it's less than, we use this symbol, 500. Diba? Dali lang. Next. A person whose temperature is 38 degrees Celsius or greater must undergo isolation. Okay? Pause muna, hit play when you have an answer. Right. So, meron ka na dapat sagot. Temperature, let's say we call the temperature T. Yan. Dapat daw 38 degrees or greater yung temperature to undergo isolation. How do we write that? Na-encounter nyo na rin dapat sa inyong PowerPoint. 38 degrees Celsius or greater. So, dapat yung temperature mo ay mas malaki o kapareho lang ng 38. No? Or if you want to be more complete about it, 38 degrees Celsius. No? Yung temperature is greater or equal to 38 degrees Celsius. Okay? Next. Pause muna ulit. Right. May sagot na dapat. A 1 dozen tray can hold at most 12 pieces of eggs. At most. Pag sinabi natin at most, hindi lalagpas sa 12 pieces of eggs ang pwede, no? So, if the number of pieces of eggs in a tray, let's say we represent it as E, then at most 12 pieces of eggs means it's a maximum of 12. So you can go less than 12 or equal to 12. You cannot go beyond that. So that would mean E is less than or equal to, pwede, 12. Tama? Super, super simple. Okay? Ano pa ba ako dito? Yan, one more. The basketball team is looking for new players whose ages are between 17 and 25 years old. Okay, pause muna. Then hit play when you have an answer. Okay, basketball team daw is looking for new players whose ages are between 17 and 25 years old. Let's say that the age is represented by A for age, between 17 and 25. Ask yourself muna, pag sinabi kang between 17 and 25, pwede ka bang maging 17? Pwede ka bang maging 25 to make it to this basketball team? And the answer is because of this word, ito yung keyword natin, between. When you're talking about between, are we including the 17 and the 25? The answer is no. Pag sinabing between, hindi kasama si 17. So, kung ikaw 17 years old, hindi ka pwede rito. Kung 25 ka na, hindi ka rin pwede. But if you're somewhere between those two ages, pwede ka. So, symbolically, we write it as A, and note, ganito mo rin ito basahin, A is greater than 17 and less than 25. Note, na ganyan natin basahin ang isang compound statement katulad nito. From the middle, no? A is greater than 17 and less than 25. Now, when I say and less than 25, you can also say but less than 25. So, another way of reading it would be A is greater than 17 but less than 25. No? Either way, okay lang yan. The and the but serve the same purpose and they mean the same thing in this particular context. No? So this is the inequality that represents this instance. Okay? Good. Next. Oops, sorry. There you go. A letter grade of A has a numerical range that is from 92 to 100. Again, pause muna, then hit play when you have an answer. Okay, nag-play ka na. Dapat ang answer mo dito ay, ano kaya? If A, again, grade, so letter grade. Let's say G is your grade. Has a numerical range daw that is from, now look at this, from 92 to 100. Kapag ba 92 ang grade mo, A ka ba? Pag ba 100 ang grade mo, A ka ba? In other words, pasok ba sa pinag-uusapan natin na range yun mismong 92 and 100? And the answer is yes, because the word that is used here is from. Mula 92 hanggang 100. So kasama si 92, kasama rin si 100. So symbolically, we write it as G is greater than or equal to 92 but less than or equal to 100. Tama? O, diba? Napakadali lang. Yan yung inequality na nagre-represent nitong ating scenario. Right? Very, very easy. Now, dig deeper tayo dito. Ang inequalities, hindi ito bago. Hindi ito something magical, something mysterious. Because you see it everywhere. Like this. Oh, ito sa Ateneo to. Picture sa Ateneo. Malapit sa campus nyo dati sa grade school. O, Blue Eagle Gym na yata nasa likod. Speed limit daw ay 30 kilometers per hour. So kung may speed limit ba na 30 kilometers per hour, can you drive at 28 kilometers per hour? Is it fine? Or do you really have to meet the 30? Kailangan pag tumatakbo ka 30 lang. Hindi ka pwede mag-29. Hindi ka pwede mag-31. Kailangan 30 lang. Diba? That's an inequality. If you will want to watch a film perhaps, nandyan yung mga ratings like PG-13, R13, no? Kapag ba ikaw ay 12, pwede ka ba doon? Kapag ba ikaw ay 13, pwede ka? And internet connections perhaps up to, look at this, up to 150 Mbps. Kapag ba 145 ang nasasagap mo na speed, are you still getting what you paid for? No? So these are all examples of inequalities that we see in everyday life. Now, again, think of a number. Let's say it's X. And compare this number to another number, say 5. Isip ka kahit anong number, then compare it to 5. Now, chances are, your number and 5 can only have 3 possible relationships between them. Now again, X can be any number, which means, sir, can X be 5? Pwede. Which is why, the first possible relationship that could exist between your number and 5 is that they are equal. Pwede. Kung 5 ang inisip mo, edi equal siya sa 5. Tama. But what if the number that you have in your head is less than 5? Or is not equal to 5? That makes it, no? If X is not equal to 5, meron ka ngayon dalawang possibilities for that number. If X is not equal to 5. It's either X is less than 5 or X is greater than 5. Di ba? Yun lang yung possibility if they're not equal. And these two in particular, actually 3 kasama ito. No? Pero focus tayo mas dito sa dalawa sa baba. These are, again, what we refer to as inequalities. No? Inequalities, from your reading of the previous PowerPoint, no? This is a statement where a certain quantity is expressed to be not equal to another quantity. Hindi sila pareho. No? Maaring mas malaki yung isa, maaring mas maliit yung isa, maaring minimum yung isa or maximum yung isa, no? But they're not necessarily just equal. Right? That's what a linear inequality is. And the word linear, of course, again, no, refers to inequalities wherein the highest exponent of your variable is 1. That makes it linear. Okay? And for our purpose, linear inequality lang tayo in one variable lang. X lang, Y lang, M lang, B lang, or whatever. Okay? Now, ito yung mga symbols na ginagamit natin. Again, you should have encountered these already. In particular, itong ang dalawa sa kaliwa, you should have encountered these already in grade school. Siguro ito lang dinadagdag natin ngayon, ano? Less than or equal, tsaka greater than or equal. Now, take note of these translations. These are important, ha? Yung mga to, lalo na. No less than, no more than, at most, at least. No, yung mga symbols na ginagamit natin. Very, very confusing yan for a lot of students. So, if your familiarity about it is really key to answering questions about inequalities. No? It's not equal to, although this is an inequality also. We're not really going to put a lot of emphasis on that. No, but being not equal to something means you can be anything other than that number. So if you say x is not equal to 5, you can be any number except for 5. Okay, next. Now, a while ago, I was talking about, I asked you to think of a number for x and compare it to 5. Now, remember that in that instance, there are only 3 possibilities. No? So, if we are given also 2 random numbers, say x and y, meron lang tatlong posibleng relationship that can exist between these 2 numbers x and y. Possibility A, it's possible that they are equal. Pwede. Pero again, paano sure pag hindi sila equal? Dalawa na lang possibilities mo. Either x is less than y or x is greater than y. Ito yung tinatawag nating property of trichotomy. Given any 2 numbers, there can only exist 3 possible relationships between them in terms of value. Okay? Option A, sila ay pareho lang. X is equal to y. Option B, x is less than y. Option C, x is greater than y. Okay, yun lang yung pwede mangyari. Walang iba. Right. Moving on. Meron tayong tinatawag na compound statements. Ano? These are statements made up of 2 or more simpler statements and are joined by, well, either the word or and. No, tingnan natin yung mga iba't ibang compound statements natin. Kanina nakita natin sila, no? In part, yung ating mga compound statements like greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, those are your or statements, and your and statements, yung ating like x is greater than 5 and less than 10 perhaps. Okay, so let's see more of those examples here. Halimbawa, si x is less than or equal to 6. I mean, even the way you say it, kaya mo siyang i-break down into 2 simpler statements. So sige nga kayo, try nyo. X is less than or equal to 6. There are 2 simpler statements that make up that compound statement. What are they? Pause muna, then hit play when you have your answer. Okay, dapat may answer ka na. So itong x is less than or equal to 6. Again, even as you say it, maririnig mo na yung sagot. X is less than or equal to 6. So pag binrake apart mo yon, statement number 1 mo would be x is less than 6. Diba? Pero isa mo statement, remember, that's what the tiny line segment here indicates. Ano? It could be equal to 6. So that compound statement, x is less than or equal to 6, is made up of 2 simpler statements, namely, x is less than 6 or x is equal to 6. Diba? Easy, easy, easy. Makadali. Okay. O itong next, y is greater than or equal to negative 4. Again, hit play only if you have your answer. So, pause muna. Okay, kung may sagot ka na, ano dapat ang ating dalawang simpler statements dito? Again, even as you read it, lalabas ang sagot dyan. Y is greater than negative 4 or pwede rin naman silang maging equal. Okay? Super, super easy. Next. Again, read mo aloud and then dun mare-reveal yung sagot eh. X is greater than or equal to 1 and is less than 4. Okay, dapat may sagot ka na. Now, we can break it apart into these simpler statements. The first part sabi, x daw is greater than or equal to 1. So, how do we write that? X is greater than or equal to 1. No? And, sabi, x is less than 4. No? Kaya lang take note, ito actually, we can still break this down further into, what would that be? X is greater than 1 or x is equal to 1. O, di ba? If you want it to be simpler, further by one step, no, you can break it down as such. Right? Last one. Y is greater than negative 2 and less than 3. Pause muna, hit play pag may sagot ka na. Right. May sagot ka na dapat. Ang tamang sagot dito ay, of course, y is greater than negative 2 and y is less than 3. Tama. Very good. Napakadali. Right. Now, ito yung isang skill na kailangan din natin matutunan. No? Matuto tayo paano mag-graph ng inequalities. No? Recall your number line. No, our real number line. Although nakasulat lang dito mga integers, we know that there are infinitely many numbers in between them. No, yung mga non-integers. Mga mga fractions mo nandyan. Say 1/2. Si pi nandyan. No? So example 1, sketch the graph of x is greater than 4. Now, tingnan muna natin ito bit by bit. No? If x is greater than 4, what possibilities can we have as values of x? But before we answer that, let's take it to a simpler question. What if instead of this, buray natin to. What if what I'm supposed to graph is x equals 4? X equals 4. Tandaan ang number line ay isang line. And definition-wise, a line is made up of infinitely many points. And each of those points, if we are talking about the real number line, each of those points represents a real number. So when you're asked to graph, for example, x equals 4, hanapin mo sa number line, nasan dyan ang 4? Ito, right here. And we represent it by a dot because we represent points as dots. So, if we were to sketch the graph of x is equal to 4, we graph it like this, as a point at 4. However, hindi man yun yung tanong. Ang tanong, sketch the graph of x is greater than 4. So, asan dito ang pwedeng mag-satisfy ng statement na ito? Anong points ang pwedeng mag-satisfy sa inequality na x is greater than 4? Now, 5. Is 5 okay? Is 5 greater than 4? Yes. So, 5 kasama yan. Point. How about 6? Kasama rin yan. Yes. Point. Pero hindi lang naman puro integers. Pwede bang 5.5? Pwede. Nandyan yan somewhere. Pwede. 5.25? Pwede rin. 9.7? Pwede. 10.1? Pwede rin. In fact, lahat to pwede. Yung maraming points na yan pwede. Diba? And, well, we can already represent that portion. Pwede mo na i-connect yan na ganito. O, diba? In fact, we can imagine we have infinitely many points din dito sa kanan na magsasatisfy ng inequality na ito. So, in lieu of those dots, tabi-tabi, we extend this perhaps hanggang dito, kahit hanggang dyan, and then write or draw an arrowhead. Nice. However, malinaw yung sa atin yung right side, arrowhead, kasi it goes infinitely to the right. But how about the leftmost part of our graph? Where do we end it? Sabi, greater than 4. So, bawal sa 4. So, pwede ba si 4.1? Pwede. Nandito, maliit na maliit. 4.0000001. Pwede? Pwede pa rin. Maliit na maliit. Pero sir, how do I draw that? Now, this is what we do. Our marker is 4. Yeah? Si 4 mismo. But the problem is 4 itself is not included. So, what we do is at the point 4, we draw a circle, pero yung circle natin ay hollow. Hollow. Butas. Walang shade. Bakit? Kasi hindi kasama si 4. Which means, our final graph, let's make that a bit prettier. No? So, it's a circle at 4, a hollow one, and a ray. Yeah, basically, that's a ray, diba? Pointing to the right. That is the graph of x is greater than 4. O, diba? Naintindihan? Dali lang, diba? Basta tandaan yung shading, ha? This is not shaded because 4 is not included here. What do you mean? 4 does not satisfy this inequality. 4 is not greater than 4. So, ito sa graph, hindi kasama ang 4 mismo. That is represented by a hollow circle or hollow dot, however you want to call it. Okay? 2. Sketch the graph of x is less than 10. So, again, meron na tayong preview kanina, no? Sige nga, ikaw, graph mo. Pause muna, try to graph, and then hit play when you have an answer. Okay, good. May sagot ka na dapat. Let's see. Less than 10 daw si x. So, etong point na to kasama. Ito kasama. In fact, kasama silang lahat na less than 10. So, maybe I can represent that as a ray. Papatingin papunta sa kaliwa. Hanggang saan ba yan, sir? O dito, diretso pa yan, no? Hanggang dito. But, does it hit 10? Well, our graph will look like it does hit 10. But the question is 10 included? And the answer is no. Hence, once again, we represent it by a hollow circle. This right here is the graph of x is less than 10. Okay? Sir, don't we need to extend our arrow hanggang dun sa dulo? Well, pwede naman, bahala ka. Pero that is already what the arrowhead means. That you go infinitely to that direction where it's pointing. No? So kahit pa maiksi lang yung graph mo na ganito, okay lang yan. It would mean the same thing as something elongated like so. Pareho lang yan. Wala silang pinagkaiba. Okay? Good. Next. Oops, sorry. Sketch the graph of x is greater than or equal to negative 7. Okay, iba to ah. Now, pause muna. Try mo muna yung sketch. Then hit play when you're done. Right. So, may sagot ka na. Now, remember, ang ating inequality na ito could be broken down into two parts. No? X is greater than negative 7 or x is equal to 7. So, ang tanong, pwede ka bang maging 7? Will you satisfy this inequality? And the answer is yes. Could you be greater than 7? Yes din. Negative 7. Which means, etong mga points na ito, greater than negative 7, kasama lahat yan. Which means I can draw again my arrow, my ray like this, and then my arrowhead pointing to the right. But again, I will draw, sabi, negative 7. Mag-drawing na ako dito ng bilog. But the difference is, now, x could be 7. 7, no, satisfies this inequality. That is true. Which means 7 is included. So instead of, instead of a hollow circle, now we draw a solid one. Shaded or solid circle. Ito ang itsura ng graph ng x is greater than or equal to negative 7. No? Let's make it a bit prettier. First time lang tayong drawing. Solid dot, solid circle, and then a ray pointing to the right. Yan ang graph ng x is greater than or equal to negative 7. Okay, good. Next. Ito, tingnan nga natin. X is greater than negative 3. Tandaan, ganun ang pagbasa ha. From the middle, you go to the left. X is greater than negative 3 and less than or equal to 4. Okay? Now again, remember, we can break this apart into two parts. X is greater than negative 3 and x is less than or equal to 4. Now, look at this. Si x is greater than negative 3. Graph natin yan. Asa si negative 3? Ito. Is negative 3 included? No. Hollow circle. Greater than negative 3. To which direction should I be going? Papunta dun. Pero teka lang. Hindi mo na ako magsa-stop or mag-draw ng arrowhead. Bakit? Kasi meron kang second part. X is less than or equal to 4. Nasaan dito ang 4? Eto. Tanong, included ba ang 4? Yes, sir. So yan dapat ay solid or shaded. Less than or equal to 4. So, you go to this direction. Now, you can imagine, sir, magmi-meet kaya yan? In fact, yes. Because notice that x, even if you look at this inequality, x falls within that range, if you will. It's in the middle. Well, 4 included, but it's in the middle of negative 3 and 4, where 4 is included. No? Does 5 satisfy this inequality? If I place 5 here, does it make my inequality true? No, it doesn't. Kaya nga hindi pasok ito eh. How about negative 4? Pasok ba dito? Hindi din. Which gives us a clue. Oops, sorry. Gives us a clue that my graph would be this. Yan, yung nasa gitna. Pero ang endpoints niya, look, one endpoint is hollow right here. And the other endpoint is solid. Nice. So again, let's clean that up a bit. Hindi kasama si negative 3, pero kasama si 4 solid. And you have in between them this line segment. Right there, that is the graph of this inequality. Oh, diba? Siyempre, pag kayo gagawa, gamit kayong ruler, para maganda. Or crayons, color pencils, highlighters even, Basta ang distinctive dapat dyan ay kung shaded or hollow yung mga endpoints. That's really, really important to emphasize. Okay? Dali, di ba? No problem. Last example to, I think. Sketch the graph of x is greater than or equal to 4 and less than or equal to 9. Again, pause muna, hit play when you have an answer. Okay, dapat meron ka ng sagot. Again, you can either go at it already kasi nakita mo na yung idea, or you can break this down into x is greater than or equal to 4 and x is less than or equal to 9. Let's graph the first one. Well, but not completely. So, x is greater or equal to 4. Asan si 4? Ito. Kasama ba si 4? Yes. Kasi ito yung symbol niya, greater or equal. Solid circle dyan. No? And then, where am I going? Greater daw or equal to 4. So, papunta ako sa right. Oop, teka lang, huwag muna ako mag-stop dyan. I look at the second part. X is less than or equal to 9. Asa si 9? Ito. Kasama ba si 9? Yes pa rin. Solid pa rin yan ulit. Okay? And then, less than or equal to 9. Now, I'm going the opposite direction papunta rito. And again, you can imagine, magmi-meet yan na ganyan. Etong nasa gitna kasi ang tinutukoy natin. Even if you translate this expression in words, won't we say that x is from 4 to 9? Eto talaga sila graphically. Hindi kasama si 10, hindi kasama si 3, or any other number outside of that range. Diba? Yan yung ating graph. Diba? Parang mata ni Baymax. Naparan nyo ba yun si Baymax? Do I have another example here? Wala. Okay. This is your exit exercise. Hindi exit ticket. Exit exercise. Try nyo itong i-graph sa inyong math notebook. Draw muna ng number line, and then pag nag-graph kayo inequalities, I suggest use a different color ink para mag-stand out siya from your number line. Okay? Pause muna. Then once you're done with the 3 graphs, hit play and check if you're correct or not. Right. May sagot ka na dapat sa tatlong items na ito. Sorry, hindi ko alam kung bakit yan 1, 1, 1. Dapat yan ay 1, 2, 3, siyempre. But your answers should be these. X less than 7, that's a hollow circle at 7 and array pointing to the left. Number 2, x greater than or equal to 1, that's a solid circle at 1 and array pointing to the right. And then finally, x is greater than or equal to negative 5 and less than 10. That should be a solid circle at 5, a hollow circle at 10, and a line segment in between. Okay? Dali, no? Perfect dapat ang iyong exercise. 3 out of 3. Now, if you're really confident, pwede ka nang mag FA8A. Nakapost na dapat yan sa Google Classroom. You submit that today, no later than 6 p.m. Kung hindi pa masyadong confident, remember, Mr. Cristobal is in the call waiting for you to ask, and I will also be in my consultation room at 1:45. Now, over the weekend, tignan mo din, dahil may 8B tayo, that's due at 8 a.m. of the next session. And pag-aralan mo na si Pre-Lectio Part 2. Okay? Properties of inequality. Papunta na tayo sa solving ng inequalities din. Right? Thank you!